All right, I think we are live.
All right. Where's the intro? Where's my intro music?
I was about to make some with my mouth, but it wouldn't be good. It'd just be not something I want out on the internet. It's just
supposed to be I need a hero. Come on, man. We talked about this.
Sorry. I spent all night uploading it. It just didn't work.
There you go. Perfect. Well, what's going on, everybody? So I can see some people popping in from YouTube, Facebook. Got Helen. What's going on, Helen? Got Jason, Joe, Laura, bunch of names. Cool. So it's all working. There's Malcolm and Sick Puppy.
I'm concerned about the person that says Sick Puppy.
They're always here. I can never remember who it is. I always find out. I'm like, oh yeah, that's so and so. I always forget who it is. Next time we do a live. But yeah. So what's going on, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good day. Weekend's creeping up on us. So it's going to be good. I'm excited about that.
Approaching fast.
Yeah, it seems like this week just kind of flew by. I don't know did it fly by for you guys?
Yeah, it really has. Of course, I spent the first half of it in Idaho, so and flying, and so yeah, it feels like I haven't stopped.
Yeah, that's right. I saw you posting plane pictures and stuff. I remember that.
Yes.
Yeah. What was in Idaho? Family?
Katie Seagroves and Katie Kendrick, who are in my Facebook group, have kind of become good friends with me and Tabitha, and we flew up there to hang out and see what damage we could do to Boise. So
that's awesome.
Yep.
It's cool. Was it fun?
Yes, we had a blast. Yeah, it was really good. Was
Idaho locked down or no?
No, they're completely open. Yeah.
So that's kind of how Missouri is. Like, it's kind of, do at your own risk, whatever.
Yeah. There was people that had masks, but it was voluntary, and I only went into one store that required it. I went into a rock and crystal shop that. Of
course you did.
Yeah. Check out like all the local things, and so, and yeah, they required it, but everywhere else I went was completely open. So that's good. It's nice to have a little normal coming back in. Yeah,
tell me about it. Well, that's how Missouri's been for quite a while. So at least our pocket of Missouri, anyway. I don't know if it's the whole state or not, but yeah, things have been pretty mellow here. You're in charge of yourself. So
yeah,
do what you will. So it's kind of nice. But
I'm going to have a convention this weekend, so it's nice to finally have, be able to get out and see the cosplay, and I'll have a booth, and it'll be fun.
There you go. What convention is that?
It's a Magic City Con in Birmingham, so it's my local one, basically. But it's fairly large, and it's no Dragon Con, but it's really nice.
So speaking of Dragon Con, I saw someone posting. I won't out them, but I saw an author posting that they were doing an event for Dragon Con, like a panel on the internet, like on the internet that day. It was this week.
Oh, really? Yeah. They are doing some panels throughout the year. I guess it turned out really well for them last year.
Okay.
I did a virtual panel with them last year, and they decided to go ahead and do them. I'm supposed to do one at some point, but they haven't got back to me when it's going to be. Okay. And then if the actual con goes on, I'll be there as a guest. So.
Gotcha. Okay. And I was like very confused. I was like, we're 2 months out.
Yeah, they decided it was something cool that the fans liked and enjoyed, being able to have, a little access to different artists and authors. And so they started having those panels.
That's awesome.
Yep.
We must have done something we never hear from them. We don't get invited anymore. So.
Oh, really?
After that self-publishing panel where I was one of the only self-published authors there.
I
kind of shut them down pretty hard. So I wasn't meaning to. I just talked the truth. But
you did. And if they expect me to do anything different, they're wrong. But
apparently that wasn't appreciated. So I don't know. Hopefully that's not the case, but it sure seems that way.
Yeah, Elizabeth noticed my my collection of
I saw her asking
my bourbon back here. I thought it was important that I bring along the booze.
So
let's talk about why we brought along the booze.
Let's do that.
I was told this was an AA meeting, So
It is.
I
Yes.
just kind of stumbled in a little late, and I was hoping fashionably late.
Hello, my name is Kimbra, and
and so yeah, maybe we could explain why we even called it the AA, because everyone was kind of like, what are they talking about?
yeah.
So why did we call it the AA meeting today?
You want me to answer that?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because it is the alchemist alcoholics.
There you go. Perfect.
and so no, we're going to introduce my series, The Alchemist Heir, and it has a lot to do with bourbon, and takes place in Kentucky. So yeah, we thought it was important that we carry the theme, and so let's have a little booze on the way, a little. Yeah.
Little morning Nick here.
Yeah, exactly.
It is morning, right?
Or as Shayne calls it, coffee.
Yeah. But no, we're excited to get this series out to everybody. As you've probably seen, the pre-orders are up, and I'll be making posts in all the groups and all that kind of stuff. So with the links, so it's easy to find. But before I did that, I didn't want to ruin it before getting on the live and kind of showing off some of the covers and having Kimbra talk about the story, and I'm sure Shayne will ask you some questions, and you guys are more than welcome. Pop your questions in here, and we'll answer them as we go.
Yeah, we've been talking about it for a while. We actually first started talking about it at the last in-person, almost said DragonCon, the last in-person Friendsgiving.
Yeah.
And we were talking about it then, and I think you already had the idea then.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you already had
it's been a long time in formation. Yeah, I had the idea. Yeah. So
you already had the idea. We were looking at trying to find the right covers, the right designer, and then just talking about how we could work together. Mm-hmm. And then pretty much what seemed like right. I mean, you were wrapping up some other projects, but then
I've always got something going on. Yeah. So.
And then right when you were ready to get rolling is kind of when all the craziness happened with lockdowns and all that stuff. So
it made it very difficult to write, and so it got pushed back because we were all doing things at home that we weren't normally used to doing at home, like keeping kids all day and doing homeschool, and I had a health issue last year where I had several surgeries, and so it just kept kind of getting pushed back, but now it's ready to go. So
yeah. No, it's exciting. I've been waiting for it. I know it seems like we were just being cruel to everybody when we told them, hey, we got this.
No.
And then not 2 years, but almost 2 years later, it's like, okay, finally.
Yeah.
But just everything kind of just, slipped in and just kind of knocked it back a little bit. So why don't you, not necessarily like an elevator pitch, but just kind of tell people what it is and what your kind of theme is and why you chose to write it. And just like
sure.
synopsis or whatever.
Before I do any series, I always want to try to make a personal connection to that series, because I think it's important to make sure that you have something invested. And this series is about Galen Faraday, who is a biology professor at a fictional. Yeah, I can't say that word this morning, and it's not because I've had too much bourbon. It's just tongue-tied. But it's a fictitious college called Sterling, and he is in charge of their biotech research, dealing with nano and some medical applications. And it kind of falls apart for him. His uncle dies, which is the man who pretty much raised him, and he loses his grant through the university. And he goes back home to find out his uncle's left everything to him, including a bourbon distillery in Bardstown, Kentucky. And so he quickly learns that there's more to the distillery than just bourbon. There is an alchemist guild who holds their meetings and everything underneath the distillery in a nice hidden cave-like thing underneath the distillery. So it's it's kind of goes from there, and his world kind of devolves as a scientist, because now he's into what he would consider a pseudoscience.
Yeah.
Every day he starts to see things that are real and happening, and he buys into the whole, or has to accept that the alchemy and the magic was real. And so
he never knew, right?
No, he never knew.
He was raised in a distillery.
But you'll find out that there was things along the way that he was taught, and that they removed those memories from him as he went out into the world, because he had made the choice not to follow the family line, and so the ideas and everything around the alchemists were removed from him because it could be very dangerous out in the world. So and I wanted to do an alchemy series because I always loved chemistry myself growing up. It was my science, like the one that was outside of geology. Geology and chemistry were pretty much where I like to be in the science realm. And my husband is from Kentucky.
There you go.
One of our first dates was to the Four Roses Distillery.
There you go.
Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. And I've been a bourbon drinker for a very long time. I've always been dark liquors, and I've always loved bourbon. So it kind of made sense to me. And it's funny, the terminology for distilling alcohol is very similar to the terminology in alchemy. It's a lot of crossover there. So.
Yeah, no, I thought it was really funny when I was reading through like your notes and your, like, we've got like a shared secret Pinterest board that's got all kind of just research material or cover design, not cover designs, but just kind of inspirations or character ideas or whatever. And I just loved all the chemistry equations and symbols and periodic elements and all the things that you had to research.
Yes.
It's cool because you're right. Like alchemy, it's, turning lead into gold or whatever, that's the stereotype.
Yeah.
And so with bourbon, you have to do a lot of that chemistry to make, the best flavors or whatever. So it was just kind of cool that you took that route. I thought that was really fun when I first heard about it. So and then you get that Southern sass too. So I know your readers love that. So that's going to be really good. But but I had a blast reading it. So I'm excited for everyone else too. And I guess we can just talk about it. Like, we don't want to tell too much, but Lane, I think you've got the pre-order dates.
Yeah, no, pre-orders are live on Amazon. The book 1 will release July 13th, book 2 August 3rd, and book 3 will be August 24th. So they're coming about three weeks apart from each other. And then the goal is to have the pre-order link for book 4 in the back of book 3, so we should have that going as well. So the pre-order links, have we posted them anywhere? I have not yet. I'll start doing it right now. I didn't want to do it before live, kind of give everything away on what we were doing. Somebody already said it in my networks that they found it last night. So
perfect.
We got Hawkeyes going through your guys' books.
Awesome.
No, it's good. It's good.
People have been excited for a long time. We talked about working with you, so I think this is a good day for them. They've been waiting. And just on a side note, I saw Sick Puppy is Paige Owens.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So, is it Paige Owens or Paige Guido? Hold on.
It's Guido, not
Guido. Sorry, Guido.
It's Guido.
I just saw the first name Paige, but
that makes sense.
Yeah, so that's awesome. Well, cool. So we've got questions, but we'll jump in those in a minute. So you kind of gave like a quick pitch, and we briefly touched on, just some of the delays and stuff. But what kind of difficulties did you face? Like once you said, okay, I'm ready to roll, and then obviously Corona happened. I mean, you kind of became a stay-at-home, not stay-at-home mom, but kind of, and then a teacher. I mean, like, why don't you just kind of jump into some of the things that you had to deal with this last year? Because you never stopped writing, you never stopped working.
No, I never stopped working. It was definitely slowed down. And one of the biggest issues that I faced with this series is it's a brand new world. It is, I want to say it's very targeted to your audience. I already have my audience. And so it was very important to me to make sure what I was writing would appeal to the people that read your books. And so it was a change for me in that. And then it was also a learning curve of just making changes in the way that I write and the way that I do things. And I think I do that anyway from one book to the next. I'm always learning and always progressing. But I really wanted this to be very separate. So almost the voice is almost a little different in this, just because I feel like I specifically targeted a different audience. And not that we don't have crossover, because we have a lot, but there is a different feel to this. And I'm not the best at writing action and fighting, and so I took a lot of time in doing that and rewriting it and adding fighting scenes into it that I didn't have before. And so, so it took a little time. It took longer than I thought it would, just because I was purposefully writing something different than, because I can sit down and write something in Trailerverse in a few days. Because it's just so natural to me. And so this was a whole new world plus kind of a whole new perspective.
Yeah. So I know I read it and I loved a bunch of the parts, and I can definitely like it is different from your normal stuff, but it's also not.
No, it's not. No, it's still me. There's still a lot of my own humor, and like you said, the sass that's in it. That's still there.
Like that, you nailed that part where it's not like you're writing to my audience and you're not writing to your audience. You're writing the same way you always do. You just branched out and tried new things and new kind of tropes. And I mean, it's really cool. When I read it, it's almost like it's okay. Hold on, I'm trying to think of how to describe it. So when I read it, it's not just magic and fantasy. It's also like a lot of these characters have no idea that magic even exists. They're all learning it for the first time.
Yeah, there's a big humanity factor in this one, very big, and that goes. Now that I've completed book 2, that's a huge struggle for Galen. Now that he's kind of accepted there's more out there, he doesn't want to let go of that humanity factor, and so. And that's another thing about the alchemists. They're not magical on their own. They don't have any kind of, supernatural hand magic fart kind of thing. Yeah. Their magic is in the actual chemistry that they do, but there are beings in the world that do have magic. And they're supposed to work together, but they don't always. And so there's kind of a clash between, and definitely a disparity between, hey, you've got these magical beings, and then who are wizards. And you have the alchemists that are, solely responsible for making their own magic, basically. So
it's like a secret society almost. So there's a lot of mystery in it, and a lot of like, okay, is this person good? Are they bad? Are they really good? Are they just? Right. It's really cool. Like it'll keep you on.
And there are definitely characters who are like walk that line that they're not bad, they're not good, they're just kind of the neutral, chaotic.
Yeah. No, I had a blast reading it, so I'm excited to see what everyone else thinks. And I know you said ARC team. We've already had ARC look at book 1 and 2, or just one?
Just one. Yeah, just I'll get book 2 to them sometime in the next couple of weeks. But my ARC team went through book 1, and everything was positive. I was very surprised. Everything that came back from them was very, very positive.
Yeah, no, it's exciting. I can't wait for everyone to read it. So it's not that far away either. Well, we got a month. So a month to look. So maybe we'll pre-order it. We'll definitely post it in the Den of Freaks and basically everywhere. We'll post it, and we'll put that up there. But you guys are definitely gonna want to check it out. It's really fun. So what was the hardest part of 2020 for you? I mean, you were writing your other stuff as well.
Yep.
But you're trying to juggle those existing series you have and then this new one. So what was the biggest obstacle for you last year?
The biggest obstacle for me was, like I said, I'd been through a health issue and I had 5 surgeries last year. And, it's just like every other month I was in the hospital and it was all outpatient, but it was a situation where it was debilitating for several days after those surgeries. And finding motivation to write was difficult because I was also listening to my body heal or trying to heal or being sick. And so it was I had a hard time with, and I don't really believe in writer's block. I still had stories to tell. I still had, I could sit down and type when I did type. But there was times when I couldn't type. I couldn't sit down and tell stories just because my mind was not in that frame. Plus all the other stuff going on. I mean, we had to time our trips to the grocery store to, the days that I could, wear a mask and go out and do that kind of thing and still taking care of my family and that kind of stuff. So it was really a difficult year, not just for me, but for a lot of people too. And so it disappointed me. It was very defeating to know that, hey, I'm not doing what I was doing. I've been doing for 2.5 years. I was putting out a book every month, and then now I'm like, I went 3 months last year without putting out a book. I was like, holy crap. This is completely different.
No, I'm in the same boat. Same as me. It's not necessarily that you're, like you said, you're not in writer's block or anything.
No.
But it's like you're just so scattered. Like I didn't go through surgeries or anything like that, of course. Yeah. But so you had that on top of everything.
Right.
But you had to be a stay-at-home mom. You had to help with schooling. I mean, everyone had all these crazy things to deal with. And I think the hardest part as an author, and this is just my opinion, the hardest part as an author is that I personally need just uninterrupted time to be my most creative and fun and lighthearted. Yep. And if my mind is thinking about news or this or concerns about school, or like even if it's just a little bit, if it's distracted by a lot of shiny lights, it's really hard for me to write good content, because when I write, I'm in it. I'm 100% in the zone, and I'm focused on that, and I don't notice anything out there. So when you have all these little tiny things or big things out there that are on your mind all the time, it's really hard to write something that you are proud of, at least for me. Yes. It's really hard for me to this is my best. This is, typical Shayne stuff. And it was just hard for me to kind of get in that zone. I would find myself writing, and then I'd have to go back and just rework it to be satisfied with it. And I don't know if that was just me being...
No, and I did a lot of rewriting and going back over things that I normally don't. I'm once I'm finished with something, I might go back and do a few edits, but then I'm done with it, Yeah. And it was not like that last year. I had to go over and over things. Flask of the Master, I rewrote it like 3 times.
I think so, yeah.
And it's just because the first draft was a good story, but it wasn't my best work. And then, it kept adding to it, and it just finally it's in a good place, that I'm proud of. So,
and book ones are always the hardest too.
Oh, so hard, yeah.
I mean, you're writing something completely new, and you're trying to make sure it's not like anything you've done before.
Right.
And so there's rules that you're trying not to follow, and make up new ones at the same time. So I know exactly what you mean. It's Cameron's going through that with the new stuff he's working on. That it's not that it's hard. Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard. It's just completely, you're taking a different path. So it's like going through the woods, and you got to clear all the brush out of the way and find the path. So it's
this one has the addition, kind of a sciencey element to it, and I wanted to be kind of true to that, and so I had to dig back into my my high school, college days and try to remember some of that science and some of that chemistry and those kind of things. And when they talk about doing potions and the ingredients that they put in potions, I put a lot of research into actual potions that alchemists would have used and done, and made alterations, because the last thing I need to do is advertise some of these things. And two, alchemy has a very spiritual aspect to it, and I didn't want to miss that. And you'll see a lot more of that in the future books, that delving into that whole and the becoming a person that you're supposed to become. Alchemy is a lot about changing who you are. It's not just changing elements, but changing who you are and reaching a higher plane of knowledge and spirituality. And so you'll see a lot of that in the later books. It's not religious by any means, but it is definitely kind of a self, betterment kind of thing. It's self-improvement, really, is what alchemy is. So
it's a transformation, kind of like the Phoenix.
It's definitely a transformation, which is, that's all alchemy is in the chemistry involved, is, transforming one thing into another.
Yeah. And it's, the cool thing about that is it's not evolving, it's transforming into something impossible.
Yes.
Like impossibly new. And that's what I think is really cool. Yep. And I still think you need to have something with AG that just makes the person like an utter asshole or something.
Yeah.
Like it backfires and doesn't make them better.
Yeah.
But something funny with Argento with the AG.
Yeah. The second book deals a lot with the gold involved, but silver was just as important to them, and any kind of transformation, whatever the ending was, it was more important the actual transformation than the actual end product.
Yep.
And so
Yep. So you got to do something that'll kind of poke fun at Argento with AG. That'd be.
I'm sure I can handle that.
I'm sure you could find something to rag on me about.
Yeah.
So what do you do when you do hit writer's block? Like when you do hit writer's block, what's kind of your poison to get out of it?
Well, my theory is there's no such thing as writer's block. Writer's block is in the traditional sense, that you've gotten to a point and you just can't go forward, right? And that means something's wrong with your story. So it's not really writer's block as much as it is something's wrong with your story. You messed up and didn't listen to your characters, and you need to go back. And anytime I get to a point where I'm kind of stopped and don't know what else to do, I back up and I will go 2 or 3 chapters back and I will start over and go in a different direction.
Okay.
And I feel like a lot of times, if you get to the point where you're just like, oh gosh, I don't know what to do next, it's because you didn't lead yourself in the right direction. You've written yourself, not so much in a corner, but just down a dead end road.
Yeah.
And the only way to get yourself out of dead end road is turn around and go the other direction.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, I like that. One of the ways I kind of look at it is it's kind of like a kink. I look at it 2 different ways. Like it could be story-wise, like you said, and that's a lot of times that's it, where you just maybe you were looking so far ahead at the destination that you were so focused on that you had butted a tree. Right. And you're trying to walk through the woods and you're looking so far at where you're trying to go that you just run straight into a tree because you're too far focused. Yep. And so sometimes you have to back up and say, hold on. There's like a ravine here that I need to figure out better. And like you said, just kind of rewrite the story structure. But then I also think that, and this was the problem I had, was just the momentum. And so that was like the personal aspect of it, about my hunger and my drive. And I kind of just saw it as like a king toes whenever I hit those moments. And I agree with you. I don't ever see it as writer's block because I always snap out of it once I'm aware of it. It's, I realize what's going on, and it's normally me. It's not. It's
almost like you can feel it coming, and you're like, "Oh God, I can't stop myself." And then here I am. I got to turn around and go back.
Yeah. And so the way I always kind of look at it is the first thing I'll do before I start rewriting is I'll just kind of analyze myself and say, okay, my muse is starving, or my muse is hungry, or my muse is running on empty. And so the first thing I try to do is fill that back up, because you can't drive anywhere if your car is on empty.
Right.
So I always try to check the car first, and that's me. And then I get refreshed, get healthy, go for a walk, watch a, 300 or Braveheart or whatever it is that I'm kind of feeling like I'm lacking.
Just something new, just to get, I think if you read something new or watch something new or listen to a new piece of music, it triggers new things in your brain because you're interested in and gets you more in that creative mode because you've brought something new into your overall knowledge. Yeah.
And then there was times last year where it was really funny because I was kind of kicking myself, like, Shayne, get your shit together. I was so mad that it was like a day at a time where it'd be like, oh man, I just can't get what I like on the paper or on the computer. And so then I'd say, okay, I'm just going to step back for a minute and go watch, like I said, 300 or Braveheart or whatever it is. And I'll go watch it and I'll turn it on and I'm like 3 minutes in and I'm like, I got it. And that was it. Like I just needed that vibe, that energy of whatever I felt like I was lacking. And it's like you see Leonidas kick the guy off the cliff or whatever, and you're like, that's all I needed. And you can turn the movie off and you're back to writing. And so normally that's why I do that first, is because it's normally my fault. Like my energy is low for whatever reason.
Right.
Whenever I hit those points, then I just snap out of it. So everyone's different, but it's always interesting to ask, other authors how they deal with it because everyone's so different. So.
Right.
But what was your favorite part about writing this story? I know you talked about the science, but is there a favorite character or favorite concept or
I really struggled with the main character. Galen has been in my brain for a very long time, and I felt like I had an attachment to him. But actually, when I started writing, I found that I really didn't, and so I struggled a lot connecting with him. I didn't want to change him because I knew he was where I wanted him to be. But when I finally got to that point, and it was amazing. I was like, oh, okay, so this guy's my character now. I we're emotionally attached now,
We're in a relationship.
Yeah. And so it is a strange relationship, especially with your main characters that you have. And so, connecting with him and finally hitting that aha moment was really, really fun for me. And now I love him to death. And so much more in the second book, he started to develop a little more confidence in himself and what he's doing. And he's already extremely intelligent. I mean, he's a smart character, and I like smart characters. I like smart people. And so it's really cool that, he's kind of self-evaluated what he knows. And because, he thinks he's smart. He's, got this giant grant and he's doing all this really high-tech stuff. And then all of a sudden he's starting into a world where he knows nothing. Yep. And so having him kind of start to embrace that and learning that and accepting that and it becoming a part of who he is really made a huge difference for me too. And I think I had to get him to that point for me to even really connect with him, that he had to connect with himself. So that part of it was really fun for me.
Well, it's fun because you get to teach him humility. Like he is so incredibly intelligent in his field.
Right.
And then he comes over here and it's like you said, it's just blatant humility where he has to accept that, okay, I'm not the smartest one in the room anymore. And that is very hard for an academic to admit.
Yes. And even he has a graduate assistant that he works with. And while she's very intelligent in what they're doing, he's kind of the master. But then when they move into the alchemist world, he realizes she knows a lot more about it than he does. Yep. And so it's kind of a flip from the professor to the student. And now she knows more about it than he does. And so now he's the one being taught. And so, it's something very humbling about that. So
that's awesome. No, I think people are going to love it. I know I had a blast reading it. Yeah. And I know we've got book 1 through 3 on pre-order right now. What kind of time frame are you thinking for book 4? Because I'm a jerk.
I'm thinking we're doing every 3 weeks. I don't see why we would deviate from that as long as it fits into your guys' schedule. We might take a look and see how things, progress with the first couple of books before we make a final decision on that date. But I would think 3 to 4 weeks is right where we want to be with that. So
that's awesome. Well, we'll talk after this and figure that out then, because I think they're going to love that.
And then, I have plans for book 5 also. So there will be definitely 5, but, we've discussed expanding it further than that. And it definitely can. The storyline will definitely lean to being able to do more for Galen and his crew. So
there you go. It's exciting. I think people are going to love it.
Mm-hmm.
So I've seen that we've got a bunch of comments and questions in here. Did you have any questions, Lane, or anything that I don't want to give.
So what was research like for you, other than just drinking lots of bourbon and
just getting hammered all the time?
Just getting hammered all the time.
I think lots of bourbon anyway, so that was not a change. But actually, it's very difficult to find, especially just on the internet, credible information about alchemy. Besides outside of some that do believe it's into a hokey pokey area, but to find actual things that people were doing when it was at its peak, and it really was a precursor to modern chemistry. Despite any of the spiritual aspects of it, it really did push scientists and people of academia into what we consider modern chemistry. And being able to find information from that time, you see a lot of photographs and some kind of like small representations of things, but I actually had to buy physical books and read about, and I couldn't just do a Google search for it. It was things that, that had to be fully researched. And the first 2 books are just really a lot about Galen and getting him to a point where he's ready to go through his transformation, whereas book 3 is totally about the alchemy and the self transformation, and it comes directly from some of the guidelines in Alchemist. So I was doing some research on it last night because you wanted me to write the blurb for the 3rd book, and the 3rd book isn't written yet, but I was like, I knew I'd saved a link, and I pulled out my books, and I was like, okay, here we go. This is what this is about. And so it was a lot of deeper research than just Googling something. I write a lot of stuff in my other series that tie into mythological pantheons, and a lot of that stuff can be easily found online, even in ebooks. But with alchemy, it was very different. I remember I bought an alchemy book that had just the symbols in it, and I opened it up and it had like 4 pictures in the entire book, and I was like, wait, I'm trying to learn about these symbols and what's going on, and the ebook just didn't have that. It was not what it proclaimed to be. So
advertising.
So another book idea for after this series is over is just go
lexicon.
Deep dive into
definitely
do an artsy lexicon yourself.
It really needs to be done, because it was difficult to find that. I really didn't find a really good research for it. So
I think the cool thing about that is it's kind of a hard magic system, because you and I'm not telling people that your book is that, but I'm saying researching it is, because with typical urban fantasy, you can be like, they're werewolves,
right?
Everyone knows what a werewolf is, and you can tweak things. But like with alchemy, it's like, no, you're mixing these 3 specific ingredients, and it's going to do this really weird thing. So you kind of have to do a lot more hard research.
Yeah.
So that would have been overwhelming for me, because I enjoy a lot more fluidity with what I like to do. I don't like as many rules. And so it would have been harder for me to do something like that.
Yeah, there were definitely rules and rules I set for myself that I didn't want to get too far. I mean, I could sit down and say, hey, I'm going to mix these ingredients, but from a scientific point of view, there are certain ingredients you just don't mix, right? Yeah. And so I can't just spit out, we mix these 3 things to make a potion. For example, in the first book, he talks about making an invisibility potion, and I actually researched herbs and plants that have that kind of property, and I found a plant in South America that actually, down at its core, it's a completely different plant, but it adapts itself to whatever is around it. So if it grows up next to a certain flower, it becomes that flower, but its actual core is completely different from the flower. So when you break it down to its elements, it's completely different, but that it takes the form of whatever it's next to. So if it grows up next to a vine, it looks exactly like that vine. And so I use that as an ingredient in the invisibility potion, because basically that's what you're doing. You're becoming like your environment. So that's and so it took a lot more digging into and really making things, and you don't really explain that. I don't explain that in the book that's what that is. I made like a little sentence about it or whatever, but I took time to really make sure that the ingredients that I specifically mentioned in potions turned out to be legit, but they weren't from an alchemist like recipe.
You made them up yourself.
I made them up myself, but I wanted them to be, plausible. So
no, that's cool. So you basically just got drunk all last year, and then planted bizarre plants like Professor Sprout.
Right. Not so much. There was a lot of medication involved last year.
so the surgeries you talked about were actually 5 new livers, right? You just kept going through them.
That cirrhosis finally hit you,
That's awesome. Well, cool. No, I think people are going to love it. I'm excited to see what they think. I know the art team loves it. I know I loved it. And you did put a shitload of work into it. So I think it's going to be a blast. I think people are really going to have fun doing it. So
I hope so.
I don't know if you want to jump into questions. There's quite a few of them. Let's see here. Was there anything else, Lane?
No. What somebody said, I guess Helen asked, was it a chameleon plant?
I'd have to look up the actual but yeah, it is basically that. But it never takes on its true form. Like, it never grows up as its own self. It is always, from sprout, it is exactly like whatever it's next to, so that it blends in.
That's cool. I like that. It's like she said chameleon plant.
It's hard to believe that something like that exists, and it not have some kind of supernatural magical quality, but it does. It's out there. So
yeah, it's all about the evolution of these plants. I was in animals too, but I was they use a lot of animal parts and stuff in these
Yeah.
Not historical alchemy, but just there's a lot of parts of animals or parts of plants, parts of rocks that have these certain traits, and they're all affected by their environment.
Right.
So like that butterfly that when they open their wings, it looks like those two eyes.
Yes.
And so like the predators won't try to eat them because it thinks it's a different predator. So yeah, it's
there's butterflies that have clear wings. Yeah. They're completely clear. Whatever they land on, they look like what they land on because their wings are clear.
Yeah. I heard something about Chernobyl actually, that the butterflies there had a certain design, and then after Chernobyl, they had a completely different design on their wings, and that was the only change in the environment, I guess.
Yes.
It is like how quickly these creatures can evolve to their surroundings.
They adapted, yes.
Insane.
Yeah. No, I've read actually. My friend Katie Kendrick, she loves Chernobyl stuff, and so she'll send me Chernobyl stuff, and I looked up, and it's amazing that the evolution that the plants and animals did in that area, because the plants and animals are still there. The humans left, but all of that's still there.
Yeah,
we have some really gnarly wolves there. So
Yeah, we had a friend that walked it, and they had to like get rid of their shoes and everything afterwards. All this stuff.
It's still very contaminated.
Yeah, it's insane. All right, let's see.
We got multiple questions about the covers. So we got book 1.
Oh, Lane, take some credit, man. That's actually Lane.
Yes.
We just gave him a wig.
And had me stand very far back. So
it was one of Cameron's modeling wigs, and we just gave it to Lane. told him to look sexy, and he said like blue steel, and we said sure.
Cut that one down.
I need to know if you're wearing an upper body suit in that though.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, no, that's not my actual body.
It's just his face.
Or well, it wasn't my face either. Actually, it was. I just had to shave.
There you go.
It makes a whole different look when you shave. So
that's awesome.
So then we'll pull up book 2.
A little darker.
Yep. Darker. On the thumbnail, it's a little darker, but it's.
And the stone referenced is the Philosopher's Stone. So we hit that really early because
awesome.
It is important to alchemists, but it's really not the be all end all. That it's made out to be. So I decided to hit that very early.
It's perfect. And then do you have the third one?
Yep, book 3.
Dove on a Skull. Perfect.
Dove on a Skull. Yep. It's very kind of an apocalyptic type situation going on in this book. And so, it looks like the apocalypse, right?
It does. I'm loving it.
Yep.
I like it.
And the dove is there. The dove is representative of the soul. And so it's very much a soul searching book for Galen. So
you can see them all on Amazon. And like I said, if I think Lane's been sneaking the links into the comments, or someone has, I saw them.
I've been putting them everywhere.
Okay, but if you don't see them, we will be posting them very soon in the Den, on Facebook, the Mighty Networks. We'll be doing probably emails soon. We'll be doing all sorts of stuff. So you will see it. Don't worry. We purposely waited because we didn't want to spoil this.
Yeah.
Jana Brown says Kimbra is looking beautiful as always. The other two are a little weird though.
Very true.
You. If I drank more, I'd look better. I look better when I'm drunk, or other people look better when I'm drunk. Maybe both.
You think you look better when you're
drunk. I think I look better. Everyone's complimenting your hair, Kimbra. I even saw someone ask me to dye my hair that color. That will never happen.
Yeah, this is actually the secret to the hair is I dye it purple, and then when it fades to this. So this is actually, it's time to re-dye my hair. But it actually turns out very well because it gives me this nice ombre.
Ombre, there you go. I was gonna say I've heard the word before because
it's an ombre and it does it naturally. So I'm very lucky that I don't have to pay hundreds of dollars to have it done. It just naturally does this. So
it looks awesome.
So I'm thinking we just set a number of pre-orders that if you hit it, Shayne's already shaking his head because he knows where I'm headed. Shayne has to dye his hair.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right.
Yeah.
Talk me into it. So we'll post some kind of contest or something, some kind of
7
threshold or whatever. Yeah, 4 pre-orders.
Well, we already beat that for sure. So there's no problem.
We'll do something. We'll do that. Maybe we can get like Hunter and Cameron to like dye their beards or something. But even if they don't, I will. So
yeah.
But we'll do something. That's
Hunter would probably do it. Knowing
Hunter would do it, even if we
be all over it.
tweeted it up and said, "Hey, everyone's doing it." Hunter would be like, "Cool." So that's awesome. All right, so
let's see here. Does anybody have questions?
So
like a lot of
if you have questions, we should just start that in the beginning.
A lot of comments, a lot of excited people.
All right, so can you see that, Kimbra?
Yeah, I see that.
As a chemistry major and a primary fantasy reader, I look forward to reading this. I love when authors take the effort to explain a bit of how the magic works.
Yeah.
So what inspired you to go with alchemy up front? Like, what was when the idea first came to you for the story? Was it the alchemy? Was it the Southern thing? Was it the academic nanotech aspect? Like, what was it first?
It was the how can I work bourbon into a story?
Yeah.
I mean, I really did want to do something with that related to bourbon, and alchemy just was a natural lean to that. And then also looked at the market. I mean, I honestly look at the market and see what's out there, and there's just not anything. There's a few alchemist books out there, but there's really not anything to this level where alchemy is the center. You do have alchemists as side characters in a lot of books. I saw one recently by a female author that I read that the main story was about wolves, but there were alchemists in the book. And so this is the alchemy is in the forefront, and I wanted it to be that way because while there are a couple, there aren't any fairly new and kind of I don't want to say it's on the edge, the cutting edge or anything like that, but it's definitely a different story where alchemy is the focus. And so when I looked at the market, there was not anything out there like it. And I like to do things that's, I mean, you look at the cover and it definitely looks like urban fantasy, right? So we're doing an urban fantasy book, but the subject matter is something new, something different.
I think it's cool. Sorry, I was just looking at the next question. I think it's cool because, like you said, alchemists are typically the only other series I can think of that has them in the forefront would be, I think it's called The Alchemist. With Nicholas Flamel and is it Perrinelle Flamel, his wife? Perrin?
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm not sure about that though.
But it's got John Dee and kind of like the whole just Nicholas Flamel legend, and it's pretty cool. But it's a YA book. It's I would say it's YA, and so it's a little different. It's very cool. Yeah. But then they lean heavily towards other gods and things like that. So it kind of leans away from the alchemist aspect.
I safely say there will be no pantheon represented in the entire series.
Cool.
You won't have there's not a god tie-in. There's magic from the wizard side, and then there's magic from the alchemy side. And it's kind of difficult. I've limited myself now. I can't delve into those very rich histories and stuff like that, but still it makes this story very pointed and very on target, and it kind of gives me kind of says, okay, these are my rules and I have to fit within them but still make a good story. So
that's awesome. So we've got a question there. Someone asked earlier about when the story takes place.
It is modern, just like it happened yesterday. So
current events. Was part of the challenge in research the secrecy and symbolism, like the egg, the child, the dragon?
Mm-hmm. Alchemists are huge on symbolism. There are just about anything you can think of is a symbol in alchemy. It really, and in some ways, some of the research that it's one of those things where a dove can mean one thing in one perspective of alchemy, or it means something in the other. And alchemy as a science developed a lot over a couple of thousand years in the dark ages. And these are the things that were going on behind closed doors. And so, everybody has a little different perspective on the symbolism. And I think, like I said, there's no pantheon tie-in, but there's still a very rich, history to delve into and to use within the books. And so you'll see, the different elements and what they mean, not just, from a scientific point of view, but from a spiritual point of view. And you'll see a lot of that symbolism in these books. And it's a lot. I have a key that I made up for myself of, symbols that they mean this, or I found an alternate meaning to them. And I like to use like obscure alternate meanings on things. I do that in my regular books. And so, it might be not exactly what you thought it was in alchemy, but something else I found, some little tidbit somewhere, and I might have twisted it too. So I feel as an author, I'm allowed to kind of twist history and the facts a little bit. And so, so you'll see a lot of symbolism in these books, and it was fun. I mean, I love new things and that kind of stuff. So,
Well, it kind of forces you to not rely on gods and pantheons and a lot of the tropes. So it kind of forces you to be more creative with the alchemy and whatever else. I think that's really cool.
Yep.
What is your process for creating new characters, Summer Riley?
Creating new characters is I usually have a need for characters. The main characters in this book were created. Tabitha and I were driving back from I want to say it was back from Atlanta. We had been to Las Vegas, I believe, for 20 books and talked to you guys. And we were driving back, and she had a notebook, and I was dictating. Hey, I need this character. This is the main character. You will find Galen's best friend's name's Hardy Johnson, and we decided he definitely is the comic relief. And I said, do we really want to do this? But considering the subject matter can be very serious and very dark, we definitely needed that lighter influence. And Hardy is definitely that lighter influence. And I was like, okay, so we're going to do it. We're going to name this guy this. And so we did. And so Hardy, and then these characters I said, there were needs for to start off. And I created some characters as you go along. Basically I have a bad guy, but then he has like his minions or whatever in a book. And so those guys kind of get created along the way. But they're always created out of need. I'm not going to create a character just to create a character. I am going to create a character because it belongs in the story. It needs to be there. And so I guess my character creation is basically out of need, is necessity. And so I have to have this character to fit this role.
So. That's awesome. Do you have favorite alchemy creation in your books so far you are looking forward to the fans reading about?
A favorite alchemy creation. Really, in the second book, Galen pulls a fast one on everyone, and his creation in that book is probably my favorite thing that he's done so far. It's really him pairing his previous intelligence with his newfound knowledge, and so I really like that. And I can't tell you what it is or why it happened, but I do definitely have some favorite things that they make and they do throughout the books that. And there's a lot of human interaction in these books. It's, not just making potions and fighting in potions. It's, and there's two different kinds of potions. This is kind of the world that I created. There's two different kinds of potions. Potions that you ingest, and then potions that you throw. They're called throws. And you throw them against the ground for the glass to break, and then the potion is released. The rules are, if you take a potion, you can't take another one because it doesn't work. And so you're limited to there's rules that you can't take two potions at once. And so there's definitely some points where Galen's previous knowledge, including nanotechnology, the nanobots are combined with the alchemy. And that's really where it starts to get fun, because now you've got this extreme technology that is now being combined with an ancient science. And so that's some of my favorite parts, is when that really starts to happen. And it only happens very small in the first book, but in the second book, and then from that point on, it really makes a huge difference, where Galen kind of combines who he was and who he is.
Yeah, it's kind of like introducing gunpowder to war back in the day. I mean, nanotech to deliver alchemy potions. in new ways. I mean, it's huge. So I'm really excited to see that part in more depth.
So leave it to me to create an entirely new science.
Exactly.
And the great thing about that is I don't have to do any research on that. That one's mine.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
So we've got someone asked if we're going to write together, like I do with Cameron and the Quinn books. That no, not right now. That's just because we're both juggling way too much.
Yeah.
Kimbra has plenty of other books she's working on, or finishing up series and things like that. And working on the Templeverse is very tiring right now, very exhausting, because all the series are getting later on, and so there's a lot of tying together that we have to do with the 3 different series. So mentally, I couldn't do it right now. I think that'd be really fun to entertain though in the future. But also I've already got another co-author project I'm working on that's going to be super awesome that I have to focus on that first. So, but maybe in the future, we'll see. But we really wanted to focus on this being Kimbra's book. We didn't want to just slap another author's name on there. Really wanted to introduce Kimbra herself to any of the Argento people who haven't heard about her, or any of my readers who haven't heard about her. And so she's an amazing writer. She writes great stories, and so we thought we could help her, achieve bigger, better things. So,
and in the first book, you read through the first book and gave suggestions. So it's not like he hasn't influenced the story in any way. Shayne definitely had his influence in it. So it's not. It's my creation, my world, but yeah, definitely from an author progression and learning new things situation. Shayne's been involved with it, so it's not, it's completely mine, but not. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. The concept was all yours, and then I ran in there with a machine gun and just started dancing,
blowing holes in things.
What about this? Why don't you try this? What about this?
So destructive.
She probably hated me, but it was fun. So, and she turned an amazing project out of it. So I'm really excited to see what everyone thinks. Kimbra is fantabulous. That is true. Let's see here. Some people are saying they can't see the bottom banner. I know I'm seeing it fine. A lot of people are saying they can see it fine. So I don't know if that was just that person's phone. But we'll be posting all the links in all the social media networks, Mighty Networks, Facebook, wherever we are, we'll be posting it. So you will see it. Don't worry.
I know someone earlier asked if there would be a certain creature involved, and I can't even say the name of the creature. I know what you're talking about. In Irish folklore, there's a little guy, and he's very mischievous and kind of an alcoholic.
Nice.
And no, that like I said, this is solely alchemists and wizards. There is one character in the books, and she's kind of a seer. She's blind. And she has the propensity to really kind of say things like, you better pay attention because whatever she's saying is probably going to come true. And so kind of there's a little bit of a seer aspect there that definitely ties into alchemy and becoming a different person and transforming into something new and something different. And so you'll see the seer in this book. So yeah. So outside of that, there's really not any other magical beings. The feds are there. I mean, you have the government involved, and they're not magical at all.
And there you go.
They're a pain in the ass. But yeah, no, it's solely alchemists and wizards, really.
I like that. I think limiting it makes it, like I said earlier, it makes you have to be more creative, more responsive.
Yeah, it really does.
And it'll keep the reader on their toes too, because it's not going to be like, oh, a werewolf's here. Oh, a vampire's here. Oh, like. Right. The things that they already know. It's like, how are they going to get out of this without werewolves and vampires and gods and angels? Right. The reader's going to be more, on edge. So I think that's kind of cool.
Right.
And we've got Julie Pederick said, question for both Kimbra and Shayne. What do you say to a certain author who is loudly claiming on social media that any author who writes more than one book per year is using a ghostwriter?
I invite that person to come to my house and watch.
Yep.
I can prove it to you.
Say, hold my beer.
Yep.
And that person must just be me, as somebody who couldn't write like a year. I could, it just wouldn't be any good.
It's a traditional author who has built into the traditional system.
Yes.
And it's really hard for those authors to see outside of that system and to see that there's quality outside of that system.
Yep.
Sure, there are self-published authors who are just throwing things out there, but there are a crap ton of us who are putting out really good stories.
Yep.
And it's just that they don't see outside of that box they've built themselves in.
One thing that I've started thinking about recently too is, because you hear that all the time, like, oh, you can only write one good book a year, maybe not even that much. And I've always wondered about the fact that is it ignorance on their part? And I'm not saying that as an attack.
Yeah.
But maybe they don't know what they don't know because they were born and bred in the traditional publishing world where you could not write faster than that because they wouldn't publish it faster than that.
Right. Why spend the time in it if you're not going to do it?
So why would they? Yeah, because they're only going to be able to sell one book a year, maybe. And if they waste time writing book 2, the publisher might not take it. And so they never wanted to see how fast they could drive, right? And so I think in this age of where we took all the brakes off and all the training wheels off, we wanted to see how fast we could go.
Yeah.
And a lot of these people are saying, well, no, the speed limit is this, so that's what I do.
Right.
And we were sitting there trying to break speed records. Now, granted, there is something to be said about quality over quantity. Definitely understand that. But,
I mean, I'm not writing War and Peace.
Exactly. There's different types of books. I mean,
my books are to be entertainment. They're not to be some giant classic. I'm not Jane Austen.
Yeah.
I'm not Charles Dickens, but I am definitely putting out things that people enjoy reading, and that is the whole point.
Yeah,
I'm putting out stories that people want to read,
yeah.
and while people want to read the traditional authors too, we're filling in those gaps.
Yeah.
And if you look at someone like the pair writing of Ilona Andrews, they're kind of hybrid now.
Yeah.
And they put out books on both sides. And what they put out self-publishing is a lot more rapid than what they put out traditional.
Yep.
And those books are just as good
yep.
as the books that they're doing traditional. And they're writing.
That's kind of what I mean is I think once you write enough books or even just enough hours, you know how to write a decently good book. And if you get a decently good editor, it's going to be pretty much the same as a traditional publishing thing.
Right.
And it depends on the genre, it depends on so many things. But I literally think that if some of these traditional authors wanted to, they could write more. They could write faster. They just have never needed to. There was never a benefit for them. Now with self-publishing or hybrid press stuff, vanity press stuff, traditional publishing dying, I think their training wheels are getting taken off. And they're going to be able to say, wow, I guess I don't need to write like this anymore. I can write faster if I want to. That's actually really cool. And I'm excited for that because I'm excited to see some of these big name authors doing more. I think that would be awesome. So we'll see. I don't know, just kind of a thought that I've always had, that it's maybe not that they can't write more than that. It's just they've never had to.
Yeah.
So
you don't know something's possible until it's possible.
Exactly. No one told us we can't, so we did.
Yep.
I mean, I live life that way. So
people are asking about competitions and giveaways and stuff like that. We'll definitely be doing those.
Oh yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And on audio, I know a bunch of people are asking about that. We're working on that. Got to find, we're entertaining all of that. So I don't know if Lane has any announcements for that yet, but
nope, not yet. We'll be taking that in stride, and as soon as we know, you guys will know.
Yeah. The thing about audio that I can't stress enough is it doubles the time to produce a book in most cases, because then you have to first, we can't just do it at the same time. So we have to finish a book, have it edited, have our team see it, and then instead of releasing it, we have to say no, and then we give it to a different team. And then they review it and look for homonym or verbal errors that sound wrong. And then it's basically another editing process where they're like, hey, you used the word said 5 times in this paragraph. And it's like, oh, we didn't know that or whatever. So just little things like that. And then we got to book their time. And then we got to book their mastering and their quality assurance. And so it literally doubles almost the time of publishing a book. So it's not that we don't want to, it's just that we have to sit on books. And I hate sitting on books. I'm working on it, but I hate it.
It's like, I've got one coming out today, and I've got a few edits to do, and as soon as I get it done, it's going up.
Yeah, I just want to throw it at people like, hey, read this.
Something new to read. Yeah, I'm the same way. I don't like sitting on them.
So we're working on all that. So, I think that's pretty much it. Y'all got some damn fine publishing education right now. I don't know who said that, but thank you. But yeah, so I think we'll be posting a bunch of stuff here in the groups with the links and all that stuff. I'm sure Kimbra's going to be all over comments and responding to people. And if you haven't joined her group, do that.
I'm gonna do some bourbon tastings and some reviews. And
we could have started with that. Like, what's your favorite bourbon?
Yeah.
That maybe.
My go-to is a Buffalo Trace. That's just my regular sip, but there are others that I really like.
Yeah.
This that I opened is a Barton 1792 small batch that I'm drinking here in my old fashioned. It was the only thing that I had that was distilled in Bardstown. We're out of
that's cool.
place. And it's actually really good. So I need to get some more of this.
There you go.
I like to buy these small ones and try them out. When I was in Idaho this week, I picked up these guys, this Glacier 45. This is a Mandarin orange bourbon.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It's actually really, really good. It has a really nice aroma, and it's really, really good. It's not sweet at all. It's definitely still bourbon. And then the other bourbon that I picked up in Idaho is this brown sugar bourbon.
Nice.
I'm very excited about trying. As you can see, it hasn't been opened.
Yeah.
But I do that whenever I go somewhere. I pick up whatever the local is. I have a bourbon from Kansas City that
which one is it?
Martinson gave me.
Yeah.
It's gosh, I can't think of the name of it.
I think I know exactly which one you're.
But it's got an awesome like Art Deco label on it.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. She got us.
Yeah. It is a very strong bourbon. It is very strong.
Yeah.
But I try to do that anywhere I go. I try to find out whatever the local and bourbon's not just Kentucky. They're distilled all over the country.
Yeah.
But and then, like I said, my husband is from Kentucky. He grew up in Kentucky, born and raised, and his grandfather worked at the Wild Turkey Distillery all his life.
That's cool.
And so bourbon has been a part of his family's life for a very long time. And so, it just felt like a natural thing for me to include that in a series. So
that's awesome.
Actually, one of our first dates was to the Four Roses Distillery. So, it's kind of been a part of a thing, It's
kind of like full circle.
Yep, definitely.
So drinking and writing, that's what we're doing. That's what Argento's doing these days.
Yeah.
So.
But I'll have little bourbon things along the way especially until the first one comes out. I have a whole little lineup of things that I'll be doing in my group. So if you want to join.
Cool. Yeah, definitely join her in the group, and we'll
and someone earlier asked about Mighty Networks for me. No, I tell everybody I was letting Shayne do it first, just to let him work. I've had one for a very long time, but I haven't opened it. I know I have a ton of requests, and people have requested to join it. But once I decide what elements of it that I want to include, I'll be opening that up, because I definitely like the alternative to Facebook and things getting buried. That's the biggest thing. Things just get buried.
With Facebook these days, if I pull it open right now, it is just 100 notifications of things that I don't care about. The things that are a week old, and it won't say anything about the Den of Freaks or anything.
Right.
And I've checked all the notifications, and then I'll go into Den of Freaks, and there's tons of things that I did not see, did not get told about.
Right.
If I scroll through my feed, it's a bunch of crap I don't care about. So there's something just broken. I don't know what it is, but there's just I've checked every notification. I've changed things. I've tried fixing things, and it's just a mess. So I don't know what's going on over there, but that's why we're moving to Mighty Networks. We're still going to be on Facebook. We're still going to try our best over there. It's hard for me to actually engage with people as much as I want to there.
Yep.
So Mighty Networks, and I've been busy, this last week with writing. I've been not as active as I want to be, but that's just because I'm working on Angel Dust, and that's insanely fun and time consuming. So, but it's a blast. So, but Mighty Networks is where to find me, and I'm sure if we tell Kimbra all the happy things about it, she'll open up her group too.
Sometime in July, it'll probably launch. My Mighty Networks will launch sometime in July.
Yep.
I do graphics and stuff for it too, and I've been so focused on writing, I haven't done a whole lot of graphics because if y'all don't know this, I do a lot of my own. Everything that goes up on my Facebook or on my website or anything like that's graphics I've done myself. So it takes time to do those things, and I do it because it's a nice outlet outside of writing. It gives me a break, and so it's kind of like fun stuff.
There you go.
But when I do set up the Mighty Networks, I want to make sure that I've branded it all and it all gets into that theme, and so
that's kind of what took a little while for us too. Is we had it since last year. We just had it secret and private, and didn't tell very many people about it because just weren't ready for it yet. So, but yeah, it's fun. You'll love it over there. So, well, cool. All right, well, we'll post the links, and it was awesome talking to you today and picking your brain on this AA meeting. It's been a blast. Yeah. Probably the funnest one I've ever been to. Yeah. The other ones are kind of depressing.
Never been to one, Shayne.
We'll put out on the Argento, on Mighty Networks and on the Argento page on Facebook, all the releases that Argento's coming out with here in the following months. There's a ton of them, so there's lots of books, and like Kimbra said, she has a book releasing today. It'll be a little bit different than this series, but still we're going out and reading.
That's book 4, right?
It's book 4 in that series. Yeah, it's a spinoff of the main Trailer Park series, and this series is very heavily Norse influenced, and so we get a lot of that, especially in this book going forward. And I like tying my whole point of all of this is tying all these pantheons into one, where we're at now and how we got to this point. So, so that we're that book will come out this afternoon sometime as soon as I can get it loaded.
There you go. When she has to drink a little bit more first before she does her editing.
Right. Well, and it's almost lunchtime, so I have a child that needs to be fed, and that will be done. And then I have a con to prepare for this weekend. I've got a lot of books to pack, and tablecloths and book. Business cards and all those things that goes into all that, because I'll have to load in tomorrow morning. So I'll be spending the rest of the day. That's my day, is feeding my child and preparing for con. So
there you go. That's good. It's good to be able to do those things again. So I'm excited about that. So, all right. Well, it's been a blast.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us, everybody.
Yep. Go out and pre-order the
books. Yep.
No pre-order. Yes. Make Shayne dye his hair.
Yeah, exactly. I'll do something purple or pink with my hair. So, and we'll post the details on that. It'll probably be like 500,000 pre-orders.
Gosh.
It's got to be some kind of insurance for me. No, we'll do something fun. It'll be good.
We need to have a drinking game at some point too.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. I'm game.
Yeah. So that'll be fun.
All right. Well, you guys have an awesome day, and we will talk to you soon.
Bye, guys.
All right. Later.